Hi, everybody. Well, I hope you're all doing well. We think about you guys a lot, and we really miss you. Miss Becky, just do a spin around real quick and show the room. This is going to be the new kids' worship. Well, this is new kids' worship. We just got no kids in here right now. It's a beautiful room. You're going to like this one a whole lot. And this is like when the church reopens. Hopefully, that won't be too long away. We miss you guys. We miss church. We're looking forward to things reopening, hopefully shortly. My name is Mike Warner. I'm the 4th and 5th grade large group teacher here at Hope Lutheran Church. We're located in Greece, New York on Vintage Lane. Today we're going to talk about risk. Remember, let's go back to last week's lesson. We're all talking about Epic, which is this month in the wilderness. A little bit over 3,000 years ago, that's 1,200 years before Jesus is born, the people of God, they escaped from slavery in Egypt. Moses led them out of Egypt into the wilderness. And they were in the wilderness for 40 years. They arrived on the east bank of the Jordan River, close to where Israel is today, and they sent spies into the land of Canaan, and they decided to go in and conquer it with God's help. Now, before they enter the land of Canaan, they have to go through the city of Jericho. Jericho is a big city. It's got big walls around it. It's heavily fortified. It's a very strong city, and it's meant to protect the country of Canaan. Before that happens, Moses, who is not allowed to enter Israel by God, he turns over the country of Israel, the people of Israel, God's people, he turns them over to Joshua, all 12 tribes. Now, he has now become kind of the leader of the people, and he's general of the army at the same time. So let me tell you the story real quick so you know what it is. And to do this, I've got about my favorite board game out here. I used to play this with my kids, called Risk. Miss Becky, do you remember losing this game to your brother all the time?
I remember losing a lot.
Yes. Okay. This is Risk. It's a classic board game by Parker Brothers, and you're conquering different countries here. And what we had here was the Israelites were crossing over the Jordan River, but first we got to send in spies in order to find out what Jericho is all about. So Joshua sent out 2 spies. He says, go and look over the land, especially Jericho. So they got inside the city, and they entered the house of a woman named Rahab. Now, cool thing about this is Rahab had an apartment. It was actually inside the walls of the city. The walls of the city were really deep, and they had apartments inside of them, and that's where she lived. It was kind of a low-rent district, really. So, the king of Jericho was told by his people on the ground, he was told some of the Israelites have gotten into the city. They've come here to spy out the land. We heard that they're hiding with this woman named Rahab. Well, she got blown in. So the king of Jericho sent this message to Rahab, and he says, bring out the men who came to you and entered your house, because they've come to spy out the whole land. Bring them out now. Well, Rahab had taken the 2 men and she'd hidden them. She told the king's men, yes, the men came to me, but I don't know where they came from. I don't know where they went. Go after them quickly. You might catch up with them, you don't know. But she actually took them up to the roof and hid them under stacks of flax that she had laid out on top of the roof. Before the spies went to sleep, she went up to the roof and said to them, listen, I know the Lord has given you this land, and that a great fear of your people has fallen on my people. So all that live in this country are melting in fear of you and your people. We've heard how the Lord dried up the waters of the Red Sea and everything you've done since with your God. When we heard all of it, our hearts just melted in fear, and everyone's courage failed them because of you and your God. For the Lord your God is God in heaven above and on the earth below. Now, listen up, because here comes the deal. Please swear to me by your God that you will show kindness to my family because I've shown kindness to you. When the army invades, be good to my people. Give me a sure sign that will spare the lives of my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, and you will save me and them from death. That's the deal. They agreed to the deal. So she let them down a rope through her window to the ground below, and they returned to the army of Joshua, for the house she lived in was part of the city wall. The spies and Rahab, they were risk takers. If they were caught by the king, they would have all been killed, all three of them. So it's fair to ask, what are you? Are you cautious? Like, I don't like taking risks at all, Mr. Warner. Are you calculated? Well, I take risks, but only after I've really thought it through. Are you spontaneous? I take some risks sometimes. I just don't think about it. Are you real risky? I love taking risks. They came to me in the army and they said, do you want to go airborne? Do you want to jump out of airplanes with a parachute? And I thought about that and said, no, I don't want to take a risk like that. Now, when would it be okay to be spontaneous or risky? When would it be better to be cautious or calculated? I did think on that for a minute. When do you take a risk? What's it like to take a risk? The big idea today is I can take risks for God. It's sometimes hard to decide because you don't know what's going to happen. When God is in the picture, you don't have to worry though. We learned to trust God last week, remember? And when we trust in God, a risk for God is, it's worth it. Today's big idea, I can take risks for God. So in today's Bible story, there's a lot of risk taking, isn't there? Two spies took a huge risk for God from sneaking into Jericho. Dangerous. Something terrible would happen to them if they were caught by the king of Jericho. Dangerous. They did it anyway because they knew the job of spying on land was a very important job. Rahab took a big risk for God by hiding the spies from the king of Jericho and the soldiers. She could have turned them in. That would have been the safe choice. She might have even gotten a reward for turning the spies in, but somehow she knew God was going to give Jericho over to the Israelites and to the Lord God, and she wanted to do what was right in the eyes of God. Taking risks, it's tricky. Listen to me. I say risk. You should never ever do anything dangerous or something that breaks the law. God would not be pleased with that at all. But you will find there are times when you need to take a risk in order to do something that will indeed please God. And that's our lesson for today.